Hello there, Book Reviewers Club. My name is Matt Guion, and today I am going to be reviewing Golf Made Easy, a backwards approach to learning golf, or is it, by Jeffrey W. Kern. I think I got that title right. Yes. Before I get started with my actual review of the book, I think it's important for me to explain where I'm coming from in reading this book. If you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, BandGeek8408, then you know that this isn't the sort of book that I typically review. In fact, that's partly the reason why I'm making this video for the Book Reviewers Club YouTube channel specifically and not for my own YouTube channel. But I came to this book as somebody who really knew nothing about golf outside of the stuff that I learned in high school gym and didn't really have any particular interest in learning about it. So obviously I'm not the intended audience for this book, and maybe I'm not the best person to be reviewing this, but I do feel that this sort of perspective is important because it's kind of a surefire way to tell that your book works, if you can convince a guy who has absolutely no interest in the subject that you're writing about. Now, this book does have a very promising premise. I kind of feel like books on golf are kind of a dime a dozen, like books on any sport, and so if you're going to write a book on golf, you need to make it stand out in some way. In this case, the author chose to take a backwards approach to teaching the game of golf. Basically, his thought process was when you are learning the game of golf, you always learn the full swing first, and then you learn some of the shorter swings, and then finally you end with putting, and he feels, for various reasons, that you should start with putting and work your way up to the full swing. This is the entire premise for the book. It's the title of the book, along with Or Is It, which I don't fully understand, but whatever, and it's something that he brings up numerous times in the introduction and throughout the book. In fact, he spends so much time reinforcing this point that it kind of makes me wonder if he's trying to convince the readers that this is a good idea or himself. But anyway, right off the bat, he is selling this book as being a better approach to teaching the rudiments of the golf swing and the game of golf. This is not, however, what the majority of the book ended up being. Maybe about a fourth of the book was devoted to this backwards approach of teaching golf, and the remainder of the book was about the game of golf, the various terms used in golf, and of course the all-important subject of club fitting. This isn't a problem, of course, if you're looking for a general reference book on the game of golf, and if it had been sold as that, I would have been fine. But when you promise something very emphatically in the introduction and only a fourth of the book ends up living up to that promise, that kind of represents a problem for me. There was a lot of very important and relevant material in this book, but it needed a lot more focus. For example, at the end of the book, he devotes an entire chapter to some great practice techniques for some of the golf swings that he taught us. And he breaks up the chapter by the golf swings that he taught us earlier in the book, which makes me wonder why he didn't just take that chapter, break it apart, and put the practice techniques at the end of each of the chapters on each of the golf swings instead. I mean, if I was somebody teaching someone else the game of golf, I would almost certainly include practice techniques in with the actual techniques of the swings that I am teaching. I wouldn't teach the swinging techniques and then an hour later teach all the practice techniques. That just doesn't make any sense. I also feel like it would have been beneficial for the author to split the books into sections and have one section be the backwards approach to golf that he promised, one section be just reference material on the game of golf in general, and then maybe one section on some of the more advanced golf things for people who want to be real pros at the game, like club fitting and the like. Yeah, the club fitting chapter in particular could have been placed at the end of the book and didn't need to be nearly as extensive as it was, given that this is a book for beginners. Overall, this might be a helpful book to somebody who is just learning the game, but to be honest, I really didn't see anything special about it. You could probably find other books on golf that are better written, better organized, and spend more time on actual technique. The thing that was supposed to make this book stand out was the backwards approach to teaching golf, but because so little time was spent on it, it just kind of comes off as another golf reference book, which I don't think is what the author was going for. Or if it was what the author was going for, then he should have said that's what he was going for. Either way, a lot more editing is needed for this book. Now keep in mind I'm not the intended audience for this book, so take my opinion for what it is. If it's not worth anything, then it's not worth anything. But on the worth meter, I would give this book a worth skimming, and on the Book Reviewers Club star meter, I would give it 2 stars. So that's my review of this book. I hope that it was helpful to you, and until next time, happy reading.